A little low there, by the way.
I am.
Yeah, turn it up a little bit. What link? Zencaster? Yeah, I'll get that to you. We'll just get all that going here. Let me get the tweet out. Just turn it up just a tad.
Hello, hello.
I'm good with that.
Hello, hello, hello.
John?
John, how do I sound?
That's a little loud. John?
Oh, God.
John, you're muted. You're muted, John.
Yeah, that's
How
okay.
do I sound?
You sound loud, but fine.
I can go back down like another couple notches. How's that sound?
There you go. I think it's fine.
Okie doke.
All right, that's fine. All right, I'll get Zencaster out. Okay, so...
We are streaming, by the way.
All right, cool. Yeah, the election. I can't believe we have this many stupid people of voting age in our country. I'm sorry to say that. I thought for sure this was going to be a blowout. And, just watching the way they're handling it just says who they are as people. I mean, Biden is like, listen, everybody stay calm. Don't panic. Let the counting finish. We have a system in place. Let's let the system do its work. Like very presidential how he talks. You got Trump on the other hand. We won this. It's over. They're cheating. This is all a scam.
But yeah, like he said earlier today, we won and then we're not winning now. They must be cheating. And it's like, you told them to vote in person and you told us to vote by mail. Like, this is exactly what you asked for.
Exactly. All right. Ready to start recording. Start local. And
I don't. Hang on. No, I don't have that all set up.
You know what I've been using, John? It's called Audio Recorder. It's a very small app, and you can run Audacity if you want, but it's probably more than you need. We can wing it, though. We don't need to record local if you don't want to.
Whatever. Right. I mean, I have Audacity already, but...
All right, we'll fire it up. Let's go. Let me know when you're ready. My Skype browser is completely frozen, so I can't see anything.
Yeah, I think he's gonna shoot you one day with his new gun.
Well, that's what I was saying. I wanted to go back over to the Skype client, but I decided not to. So I can hang up and still do that. I don't have a problem with it.
I assumed it was because he didn't have the window displayed.
No.
Right.
I think my Skype window in the browser always freezes.
Oh, mine's frozen too. I assumed it was because of that.
Oh, Thomas, do you not have the window active?
No, I didn't. Because I'm waiting for you to start this Audacity recording.
Okay,
I'm not ready.
That's fair. We're like amateurs again.
All right.
How did this happen?
That's a good question. No. How does that work? That's not what I want.
Make sure Zencaster's picking up the right microphone.
Yeah, let me stop Zencaster, John.
I changed my microphone for that one. I can't find the right setting in Audacity.
It should be the audio panel that gives you a drop down to select of recording.
And I don't see the one I normally pick.
Tools. No.
Hello.
View, toolbars, recording. No, not that one. Device toolbar.
Yeah, I've got that. I'm not finding the Scarlett as one of the options. I have USB audio.
That's the Scarlett.
Audio.
I don't know. I think he probably installed the Flatpak and he doesn't have access to it or something. I don't know.
What do you mean I don't have access to it?
I
recorded in here before, so I'm just gonna leave it at default.
Well, click on the monitor button to see that you're getting.
You don't tell me what to do. That's recording just fine.
Right. We're not going to need it. All right, everybody start the local recording then. Apparently, we're not going to wait for me to say that. So, just start your local recording, Thomas. Nope, too late. Keep it going.
I didn't. I had already stopped it, but it's going now. Okay, it's going.
We're at 9:20, man. I want to get to the show at some point. Okay, clock back. 3, 2, 1.
Why is this a big line where I clap?
It's like we've never done this before.
Just 1 week off, you know? Okay, that'll work.
Are you sure? I can stay quiet longer. I've done it before. Like,
you did a whole episode.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna need to get more scotch. Hold on. Oh my god! You boneheads leave me to drink.
Closing in on Pennsylvania.
Right. Don't close that stuff down. Nothing's gonna happen before morning.
There's supposed to be an announcement in about 20 minutes. From
really?
Georgia.
Georgia's pretty shocking. Okay, we're not talking about this during the show, though. See, this is the perks. The people who are tuned in, this is why you watch the live feed. We'll talk about politics. But that's it. Get it out of your system, Thomas.
This whole thing is just embarrassing.
This is us on the world stage, man.
Yep.
I watched a video today about the different types of voting where we do the plurality. You get to pick one person, but I forget what it's called, but basically ranking where you can say, I want this person first, this person second, this person third.
I've heard about this, yeah.
But the way they broke it down and how it works, it was like, oh, that makes a crap ton of sense.
Yep. Basically, the one system that doesn't make sense is the currently used system.
The Electoral College, yeah.
Well, not just that. The plurality. You get to vote for one person, even though you may agree. Like, there's oftentimes I want to vote Libertarian, but I feel like it's a wasted vote, so I vote for my second choice. I don't get to vote for my first choice.
I get your point there. That makes sense. So this would allow you to vote for your first choice, but your second choice still counts as a vote based on the ranking.
Right.
Gotcha.
So they just keep taking the person with the fewest votes out of the pool. Mm-hmm. So anyone who voted for them moves on to their next choice. And then whoever's got the lowest votes again, they get removed from the pool, and your vote keeps moving that way. Because right now, there are people that continue to vote for third-party candidates because if you don't vote for them, they're never going to get a stage. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when you vote for them, you're taking a vote away from a candidate that currently has the possibility of winning.
Well, and I was telling my friend who voted third party for president that the presidential third party is the pointless one. If you want to vote for third party, then state house, state senate, mayors, governors, those have value and those can actually change things. But voting third party for president when there's not even a third party representative in the Senate or in the House is just going to get you nowhere. Mm-hmm. So the first step is getting that third party into Congress. You're not going to jump straight into a third party president with an all Republican and Democrat Congress.
Yeah, and I actually even heard somebody float the idea by today. They said, well, even when the election's over, the Electoral College doesn't have to vote for the candidate the state voted for. They can vote for anybody.
Depending on the state.
That's true, actually.
It's kind of true.
So it's
most states have them locked in. You have to vote a specific way.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, there's a couple that don't, but even then, the position of electoral college is like an honorary position, and so they don't dare like put their own opinion in it whatsoever.
And it's usually the people that are those electorates, or they're from the party that got the popular vote in the state, so they want to vote that way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's like former governors and former mayors and famous people, and yeah,
this is a terrifying time. This would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty interesting so far.
Do we want to do this? Want to get the show going?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I got feedback from somebody.
Keep it ugly. That was a great show. Good show, guys.
John, mute your mic. Hey, Thomas. Thomas. Okay. Mute your mic, Thomas. John, let me unmute yours. Hey, mute your mic, Thomas.
One sec.
All right. Hello. It's you, John. I'm getting feedback from you.
Yeah, try it again.
Hello. Yeah, that took care of it.
My headphones were too hot, and it's right here by the mic.
Gotcha. All right, all taken care of. Okay, let's go ahead and get this going. Any other last minute? Thomas, let me hear from you. Make sure you're unmuted.
I'm not muted.
Okay, fantastic. Any last minute get this out of our system conversations?
No.
We have chat telling us to get started. Yay! Germany. Hello. Oh man. All right. We got Germany on the line, man. We got to do them right. All right. Let's get it. All right. Shit. What fucking show are we? 212. Okay. You're listening to episode 212 of PHP Ugly. I'm your host, Eric Van Johnson. We are a weekly podcast that live stream and send out to the podcast streams. If you ever are in the mood and you want to catch us live, tune in Thursday nights. We typically start around 9, unless there's a lot of politics going on, and then apparently we start around 9:30. But, just pop in, have a conversation. With me tonight, as always, are my good friends, John Congdon.
We record weekly, unless we don't record, and then that goes out the window.
We don't talk about that. And my other good friend, Thomas Wright.
Hello.
But I just talked about it.
I know, but it wasn't. It was fake news. It was not true.
we were. There was a recording from last week, so we're really on 213, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, we make our own reality now, John. Don't you? All right, now let's not go down that path. Don't pull me in there, man.
It's so easy, though.
Yeah, many things. It really is. Hey, Thomas, I got something for you, brother. I got it in a box and everything. Check it out. If you saw my Twitter stream, you might have already seen it. I got you an elephant too.
Oh, sweet!
Yep, it's from PHP Yorkshire.
Yorkshire.
I saw that you got one. I didn't know you got me one. That's so nice.
I got you one, and I got John
Expect it when the next batch of Patreon gifts go out.
So 2 years.
So in like 3-4 years.
I send out once a year. Come on, give me some credit.
During the election for Trump's third term.
I appreciate you guys accommodating my absence last week. My mother had surgery that went very well, but I did have to be out there. There was no two ways about it. So I'm happy to hear you guys were able to carry on the show without me. Oh, wait a minute. You did, you lazy bastards.
I needed a break, man. I knew that this week was going to take it out of me.
It really has. Trying not to talk about it, but my God, it has to take.
Well, I do have some things to say about it, but
okay,
not political.
I'm pretty sure I made a hard fast rule there. But
it's not political.
Rules are meant to be broken.
We've all been watching a lot of these live tracked data displays. It seems like a lot of the tools that the producers have or that the hosts have for the news shows have all this live tracking built into it, plus a bunch of tools that they've been trained on so they know what to pull up and where to point and all that stuff. And I was really amazed at the technology behind this whole process. Because I've got
pretty good.
I've got the country map pulled up, and then I can click on each individual state and zoom in, and it tells me which counties are there. And then I can zoom into the county, and I can see historical voter information. I can see current results, currently turned in ballots, projections, like a huge amount of data is right there at your fingertips. And then they're doing the same thing live on TV where they're pulling up these numbers and just sort of talking about what they see on the screen in front of them. And I was mentioning this to a friend of mine. Like, I wonder how they data store this, how they host it, what is all of this running on? And it turns out he used to work for a news station. And so...
Who used to work for a news station?
A friend of mine.
The guy who created it? Oh, okay.
And so he told me a bit about how they do it. And basically all of this information is some kind of feed, either RSX or SOAP, from Associated Press. And Associated Press has these run-up practices where they're sending fake data, and they have all of these retraction practices or double count practices, just all of these interesting sort of feeds that you can hook into to test out your system in the lead up to the election. But I tell you, looking at the systems that they had, I don't know if a team of 4 developers could produce something like that in a year. I mean, they're extraordinarily complicated systems.
I've been watching CNN, and it's their little touchscreen map system is fairly complex.
Yeah,
and the training they must go through just for the host to learn how to where to click and get back.
That's a big difference from, let's say, 12 years ago when they first started doing these touchscreen interfaces, and the hosts just didn't, or the anchors just didn't know how to use them. It was a big joke where they'd say, let's go to the giant board, and the giant board behind them, and they'd start tapping on it and nothing would happen. And then they'd go into another corner, and this is where the number is, and then the thing they had tapped on the first time pulled up instead of the thing and it was just a total joke. And they had the hologram anchors who came in, and for some reason, back when there was no social distancing, they had hologram anchors, but now that no one can be in the same studio at the same time, we don't have hologram anchors. But yeah, it's clear from watching CNN, at least, that they have spent weeks training on these systems. They've spent weeks, because they tap on something and they immediately know what the data they're looking for is and how to represent it back to the camera. It's been very fascinating on a technical level.
It's also been fascinating when they realize, oh, I'm on the wrong screen, and know how to get back,
right?
To where they want to be, even though they look very similar. They're both like maps of the country. They're like, oh wait, I need to go back here.
Right. They haven't been stumbling across the technology at all, and the technology hasn't really stumbled except for that one time that the Associated Press accidentally added a 0 to one of Biden's number counts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't see
really
that.
Bad. You'll see it. All of the accusations right now that you'll see online are like, well, where did 100,000 votes come from all of a sudden? And they're all for Biden? What the hell? And that's because there was a accidental zero. It should have been 1,700 votes, and it was 170,000 votes. And so they retracted that within minutes, but now on the bar graph of the results, there's this super weird-looking spike on Biden's counts, and everyone's pointing at it and saying, look, they cheated. Including the president.
And it was speaking of votes and technology and stuff, did you guys happen to catch that tweet? I think it was last week now, of most popular backend frameworks from 2012 to 2019, and it's just like this graph that's moving.
No,
I threw it in Trello. It's right up there, next discussion in Trello if you want to click over to it. It's pretty wild to see what a just massive front runner Rails was back in 2012, and I'm up to 2014, and there's about 10,000 stars difference between that and Meteor, which is right behind it. And then, of course, everything starts to kind of equalize out. And here we are, 2015. Laravel is finally on the map and quickly at number 4 or 5. Eventually, Laravel will get to number 1, but Laravel never establishes the demanding kind of lead that Rails had. I don't know how Rails didn't, looking at this map, or looking at now these are frameworks, so these aren't Rails. It runs on Ruby, so these aren't the underlying language. But it's just amazing to me that PHP frameworks were able to survive that onslaught of Rails in the web, because it was just insane how much Rails usage was out there. And I've told you guys in the past, I dabbled in Rails, and I'm not ashamed of it. It's cool. But
I barely glanced at it, because when I moved from Perl to PHP, and right when I was doing that, a good friend of mine went the Ruby route and was telling me, you have to check out Ruby, you have to check it out. And I had already started down the PHP path, and I just never went over and looked at it. And I guess lucky I didn't, because
yeah, well, that was the thing, is all the the Laravel people love talking about how they're on top, and it's that's not what you should be taking away from this. You should understand that position is, you don't get to keep that forever. They're on top. I think this ends December 2019, and it's Laravel Flask, which is a Python framework I played around with a little bit, is there. There's a couple others. I don't even remember what all is on there, but there isn't that much differentiating them between one another. And it's just, I don't know. It's okay, yeah, it's a great framework. I think it's a good argument of, if you want to have a professional career in Laravel, or professional career as a PHP developer, take up Laravel, because it is a front runner. Those applications are going to need support for a very long time.
I know I upgraded my little microservice up to Laravel 8, and I am feeling Thomas's pain right now, where
come on,
every couple of days where you get the bump PR saying, hey, it's time to bump these packages, when you have a client that is what's changed? Is it going to break anything back? Is it backwards compatible?
Yeah, I get that.
When you always say, well, it's a minor version, it should be backwards compatible, but I've heard all the horror stories with Laravel, so I'm always afraid.
Yeah.
It's scary.
That's a real thing. Yeah, I know. I agree with you. I think I've established, you guys. I mean, it's a good argument, And again, we can rehash the whole: is it enterprise ready argument again, right? It's like,
Wait,
it's
can?
things like that.
Is that permission?
It's things like that where people who actually work in the enterprise or work with systems that are under strict supervision, it's a pain in the ass to have these updates. I mean, when I worked in the enterprise, it literally took a week to push something through change management.
Yeah.
The change management board met once a week. All the developers had to have all their proposals in order, tested, documented to present to change management. Change management would approve it, and then then the operations team had to schedule the moves. This is a process, and it's a painful process. Nobody likes the process, but this is a process you deal with in big companies. And when you're getting peppered with these updates constantly, and it's not only Laravel, right? It's if you run a Composer update, half your packages have updates out there, and those aren't as easily documented as the Laravel upgrades are.
You're lucky if they're at all documented.
Same holds true with NPM as well.
Yeah, luckily I don't deal with NPM much. With all the Composer ones, that's where I really like that I forget what the bump. What's the package called where it's checking your Composer, your libraries all the time for you on GitHub? I just call them bump PRs because that's what they are.
Yeah, the bot. I forget what the bot's called, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So every time one of those comes in, the first thing I do, and I really like, they have a link to go look at the difference on GitHub between the version you're on and the version you're going up to. Mm-hmm. And I usually am able to scan those usually fairly quickly to see what has changed.
Well, I don't know. It's just a pain in the ass. I did a Laravel 8 update on one of my systems this week and was ready to roll it out today and did a Composer update, and I got the newest version of 8 again for this week. Now it's got to go through testing again. And it's...
I mean, yeah, I was going to say, I mean, you could always just let things pile up for a month, kind of document it all and then just do it all. But you run into the same problem.
Or you can have tests where you cover almost all of your code and pray that covers you with the updates. That's the one thing that I was able to do with this upgrade to 8 was have testing around almost all of my code.
I'd love to be able to do that.
Yeah.
I gotta get on the testing bandwagon with you. I'm on it. I agree with you, but I don't.
Testing just shows how many more bugs you have. Without testing, we don't have bugs. We have unresolved features.
That's right.
We only have bugs because we're testing. We shouldn't be testing so much.
I think again, directly from our administration, the less testing, less problems. It's very simple. Stop the testing. Stop it. Oh man.
You guys just couldn't help yourself.
Composer
Have you tried
2?
it yet?
Anybody on Composer 2 yet? Have not.
Yes.
Have not tried it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's
fast.
It's just faster,
Crazy
right?
fast.
Faster, better interface, or it's prettier as it's trying to install things. It's prettier. It's prettier output.
Yeah, I actually went to upgrade it with Composer self-update, and it turned out I must have installed Composer through a package on my Linux system, and it wouldn't update that way, which I don't know why, but it just wouldn't. So I need to probably pull that up.
Should just be sudo composer self-update --2.
Yeah, I tried. That's what I tried. It wouldn't take because, well, first thing it said self-update wasn't even a command. So I'll share that with you. But yeah, I want to get on it. No break. I mean, there's nothing to think about with it, right? It doesn't break anything, does it? Or does it?
It does.
Oh, it
Yes.
does. Do share.
PSR 0. It no longer supports the old style PSR 0 auto complete or auto finding.
Wonder why they removed that.
I believe because it was slowing down the total, the general namespace. I think PSR 0 got deprecated, and they're sticking with it and saying we don't want to support something that's deprecated and old, and we don't want to promote its use, and it screws with coding styles. So
I'm fine with that.
And
only because I'm not affected by it.
I believe that PHP 7.4, or no, I believe PHP 8 doesn't support the PSR 0 namespaces. It has to have a leading slash and all sorts of specific rules.
Well, the PSR 0, that auto loading wasn't a PHP thing.
No.
So PHP can't deprecate it.
But the way that PHP resolves namespaces didn't require a leading slash, and PSR 0 didn't require a leading slash, and now it does. Also, PSR 0 has been deprecated for 6 years. So it's
you say it was --2 or just -2?
-2.
Yes. See, mine says command self-update is not defined.
Huh. I don't know.
Maybe if you do install it through apps.
Yeah, I think I'm going to check that right now.
Yeah, I think I'd use wget for it.
Yeah, probably should.
Yeah, it's the normal way.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I installed it through apt-get. So I'll just roll that out and do it the normal way.
I think another change in Composer 2 is that it multi-threads downloading packages. That's one of the reasons why it's faster.
Oh yeah, I heard about
and
that.
And it's got improved parsing of dependencies and sub-dependencies, so it knows what to get faster as well.
Nice. John, I want to pick on you a little bit. Well, first thing, I want to congratulate you. You're rocking the System 76 machine now, aren't you?
I am.
How are you liking it?
I like it a lot, for the most part, except for Skype. Skype is garbage. But it was, to be fair, it was garbage on Mac too. But
it's very fair, yeah.
Zoom works better.
The only time I use Skype is for the show, man. Well, I actually communicate with a couple people through Skype, but the only place I use audio video is this show. And Zoom is supposed to be making it so that you can use Zoom with OBS, but I don't know if that's actually going to happen. But yeah,
I've seen articles where people have made it work, I think, but
you can
it official.
Yeah, you can make it work as basically like you're sharing the screen, where we would all just be on the Zoom call, not as individual feeds that Thomas has used, to manipulate.
Yeah, we couldn't do.
Gotcha.
I couldn't do all my fancy stuff like this.
Thank you, Patreons. Yeah. So supposedly they were supposed to. My understanding is that they were going to release it so that you could, but I don't know. I don't know if that's actually.
They're probably more focused on schools right now. Let them get through that. They'll figure their next steps, which might be NDI.
Now, about how much is a System 76 desktop like that?
Like $200-$300.
Yeah, it ranges. I mean, they have the little like Mac Mini versions that are like $300 or $400 to like the big megas. You can max it out at like, not that I've done this recently, $84,365 around there. That's if you got 4 GPUs, couple of CPUs. they've got a whole range. Not even getting into the servers.
So that's interesting because I'm looking at a computer right now that interests me a lot, called the Raspberry Pi 400.
I tried ordering one of them. Couldn't get it. $70, man. Can't beat it. Have you seen this, John?
I have not.
It's a complete Raspberry Pi built in a keyboard. This is coming from the Raspberry Pi Foundation. So it's not, somebody didn't take an existing Pi 4, stick it in a keyboard and do anything. This is it's a different board that's built into the keyboard. You need to think about picking one of these up for your kids, man. I'm telling you, it's a nifty little thing. Oh wait, what are you looking at that has a pre-order there, Thomas?
Spark Fun.
I was trying to go through. I was trying to support. What's the fruit?
Adafruit.
Adafruit, yeah, Adafruit. Yeah, I try to support her and her company, so I usually order all my Raspberry stuff through her, through that company. But they don't have these in, or didn't have them yesterday or today. So, but yeah, they say they're going to have them available in time for Christmas. So I'm on the waiting list. I'm definitely gonna pick one up. I love this sort of thing, but yeah, I think it's cool. I keep mine running. Like mine is, you can't see it, but mine is behind me. I keep it always running. It actually is running CouchDB that's syncing to other CouchDBs. So I always have a current version of CouchDB. So like when I went to Arizona last week, I popped that off, threw it in my bag. Thanks to John, I can actually live off that in my iPad if I have to. But I always have a current version of some projects I'm working on that have CouchDB associated with them. I have them syncing to my little Raspberry Pi, and I can just take it with me. I enjoy it.
But then you have to remember to take it with you.
I mean,
I've never had a Raspberry Pi, so I don't know all the
It's basically just a
it.
Linux PC with a SD card in it, or a micro SD card in it, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, USB 3, and that's it.
I tell you, the Pi 4, being able to connect it directly to the iPad, and I have the iPad Pro with one of the nice keyboards, huge game changer. Like, I feel pretty confident if I were to leave with just those two things, I would be fine, even without internet connection. Like, if I couldn't connect to a server or something, I just hook up the Raspberry Pi. I have my Vim, I have my repos, and I just do. I've been thinking about writing a script that will go through all the repos I'm working on and make sure it does pulls down all of the branches every night. I haven't gone that far yet because, quite frankly, have been traveling a lot. but yeah, with the little Raspberry Pi, you basically have an entire Linux system, and you take your iPad, hook it up, and you're off and running, man. It's pretty slick. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, with that said, I did take my laptop with me to Arizona because I was going to be there for 6 days. So I wanted to have a system with me. But like conference, like when I go to a conference, if I ever go to a conference again, you're probably going to see me walking around with just my iPad, and I'll have the Pi with me if I need it. But yeah, man, good stuff.
I'm trying to see what display port it has, but I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing HDMI port on there.
Oh, it's the micro HDMI.
I have 4 of those cables because when I was trying to diagnose my broken Raspberry Pi, I believed that was the issue. It was not.
But honestly, John, I don't even have it hooked up to display. It's just like a terminal to me. I mean, it's so with the.
But if you're going to give it to a kid to do something, they're going to want to hook up to a screen.
And I believe
absolutely. And
I
like the
believe you can
keyboard,
hook
for
it
sure.
up to an iPad as the screen.
Right. Well, no, it's not the screen. What I do is through a USB-C cable, my iPad charges my Pi, and then there's you go through a configuration that creates a network connection through the USB cable so that it talks directly to the Pi through the USB cable over SSH. So you don't it doesn't the Pi itself doesn't need to be on any network or anything. It just communicates through the iPad.
I think he's saying for this Pi 400, you could connect it to
Yeah, I believe the
iPad
iPad
as a
has an
screen.
HDMI in mode that you can run it
What? What? That's insane. Well, that makes sense because you can use the iPad as a second screen on a Mac. I mean, that's what's it called, Sidecar or something like that. It's a feature built in the OS now. You just say, "Hey, Sidecar," and it doesn't. The iPad actually doesn't even have to be physically connected. If it's on the same network, it'll work as well. But it's a little laggier that way. But yeah, the iPad definitely has the functionality for that.
Yeah, and if not, there's VNC and all sorts of other stuff. So we talked last week about... No, I'm sorry, not last week. Last time we spoke, excuse me, about
that's all right.
HTTP 3.
I'm on that slide.
And we were speculating a lot about what it was, and I hadn't read anything, and you guys hadn't used it at all, and I spent 4 hours reading about HTTP 3 last week, and it's very interesting.
What would be interesting?
So, when we think of HTTP, we think about TCP/IP connections, and we just sort of don't think about TCP/IP anymore past that. HTTP 3 does not use TCP.
Really?
What?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Because it's all about streams, right? That's the big thing.
It's all about connection times, floating IP addresses, multiple connections from the same location, multicasting, performance on a per packet basis, error correction or lack thereof, and things like that. So when you read through the history of how we got to HTTP 2, things make a lot of sense. Where we didn't have the ability to do SSL, we added SSL. We didn't have the ability to do streaming video, things like that. We added it in.
It is using UDP.
More specifically, it's using something called QUIC. QUIK. QUIC.
QUIC.
And what they've done is they've reinvented the overhead that's in TCP for UDP connections so that something can say, I was expecting this packet and didn't get it. Now, in HTTP 2, you could accept parts of a file before previous parts of the file had been accepted. So there was this idea that you could multiplex video streams like that. But in practice, it never really worked out. The way that this works is that there is no inherent order to the packets. You just get them when you get them. And the place where this makes the most sense is video streaming, video game streaming, audio streaming, stuff where if a packet blips out, you don't want to buffer the entire video until that packet gets resent and re-accepted. You just want to blip over that pixel that got skipped. You don't care. So yeah, it's a complete reinvention of how browsers and web servers communicate to each other.
Well, and this article, which will be in the show notes, if you listen to the show and you weren't aware, we do publish a podcast audio only stream, and in that we typically have all the links that we talk about on the show in there. So you'll hear us refer to the Trello board a lot. That's typically what we're talking about, links that we're queuing up for show notes.
So our show notes aren't really notes as much as they are resources.
Yeah.
I've heard complaints about how sparse the notes are.
So.
Oh, have you? Have you, John?
I have.
I take personal offense to that. but back on track, Thomas. Yeah. One of the things this article brings up is that very point about how TCP is so prominent, and like every router knows how to manage and handle TCP, that this is probably going to be a fairly large impact and take a long time to get adoption on.
It does speculate on that, but it also brings up the point that there have been protocol changes in the past that went smoother than expected, and that this is something that is going to affect corporate firewall policy more than anything else. The home gamer already has UDP open on his machine. But corporate policies often block UDP for security reasons. Or just not even security reasons, annoyance reasons. Because UDP is not necessary in a corporate environment in many cases, and so even bothering having it is just going to be a pain in your ass. What it does bring up, if you go all the way to the bottom of the article, is that there are some serious issues. I'll quote the article here and then go over it. The ability to revive connections from a client-side cache opens the protocol to a replay attack. In certain situations, a malicious attacker can resend previously captured packets that will be interpreted by a server as valid and coming from a victim. Many web servers, like those serving static content, would not be harmed by such an attack. Applications for which the attack scenario is valid must remember to disable the 0RTT feature. So, there is some configuration stuff where a replay attack could send false information. For example, if you were sending a password form reset, I could capture your password reset and then resend it as a replay of just the pure packets, because TCP was doing validation of packet numbering previously, and now the server is responsible for packet numbering. So my guess is we'll see a 3.1 pretty soon that resolves this kind of issue. And by pretty soon, I mean 5 years. But it is a big step for what we consider the internet to be now, which is video games, audio streams, Netflix, Apple TV. That stuff, it was unimagined 15, 20 years ago when we were previously designing these protocols. And now it's the standard. Now it's what we do every day. Most of our data in and out is YouTube videos while we're working, or music, So it's a big step forward. It's been in development for a very long time, and the reason it comes up now is that the newest builds of Chrome have Quick, or HTTP3, enabled by default. And you're going to see this more and more. And the web servers that do support it in a fallback mode. So if you don't have HTTP3, it'll just use HTTP2. But the big player in the rollout of all of this has been Facebook. For Instagram to be able to cut 30% off of their traffic daily, they save a huge amount of money. So they've been pushing it on Instagram through the application on your phone and have been using it without really saying anything. They've just been doing it as testing. So it's been in the wild for a while. People just haven't known it.
Interesting. So, Thomas, I talked to you a little bit about Trello. I noticed you had the new features coming in PHP 8. Do you have anything
Oh
you
my
want
God,
to
so much.
talk about here?
Is this my show today?
Oh, good. This is a PHP show. So, yeah, it can be your show.
Union types. Previously
Looking forward to
we
that
only
one.
supported a variable being one type or any type. Now it can be...
For our listeners watching the podcast, can you share your
Yes, but then
browser?
my screen stops
Did we
scrolling,
get that
so you
fixed?
have to understand that while I'm doing this,
Oh.
you can't complain that it looks like OBS froze.
Thomas OBS first. All right, go ahead. I won't say anything. I promise. I'll scroll my own screen.
Union types. Previously, if you declared a number an integer, it couldn't be anything other than an integer. Now you can declare it be an integer or a float or a string. That's a union type. Weak maps, I'm going to skip over because I'm going to get to that later. Value error exceptions. This is a strict mode exception for trying to improperly override a type on a variable. This is part of PHP 8's revamp of exceptions altogether. PHP is taking a new look at how exceptions are thrown and handled and what can be done with them. Allowing variadic argument when overriding functions. Next.
What? What is that?
So
I'm looking at so the cool thing, again, it'll be in the show notes. This link that Thomas is sharing has some pretty cool examples that you can actually play with the code and run it again right there in the browser. It's pretty neat. Hey, look at that, Laravel. It's Laravel Playground. Just going to point that out to you guys. Just so you know.
A variadic argument is when you have ... and then a variable in your function definition, which means that you can have any number of arguments into that function, and they'll be put in place as an array in the variable that you define. Previously, if you were overwriting a function, you had to keep the signature exactly the same. If it had 3 arguments, you had to have 3 arguments, and they had to be the same type. Variadic argument overriding means that you can replace 3 or 4 arguments with just ... variable, and as long as the usage matches the typing, you're good. If not, then it'll actually throw a value error.
That is...
Wait, what do you mean the usage?
As long as when you call it, the types of the variables being passed into the method match the original types being passed into what's being overridden.
Even if you're not calling the parent function, it still needs to match. That doesn't make sense. Then what's the point of being able to do this?
I don't understand how this is working either. Like, how's knowing which variable to assign the value to?
It's not. So you're getting an array now of variables. That's what the ... does, is it takes all of the variables that are passed in afterwards and makes it an array.
Yes, and this example, I can't tell you how the type thing works or doesn't work because I don't understand it by how I'm reading it.
Yeah, I could see doing this where I've overridden methods in the past where I don't need the last 1 or 2 parameters. Whatever I'm doing in that function at that moment, I'm overriding it and don't care about those. So I could see ... junk, or I don't care. But for it to check the method signature above it, that seems weird to me, because you're getting an array at that point.
I'll look into it.
Okay.
Well, we held you up. No, go ahead. We
Static return type.
What else we got?
You can now define the return type of a function as being static. This is going to be used everywhere in frameworks. You're going to see it all over the place. Everything that uses the factory pattern is going to be rewritten to include the static reference. So you get used to that.
What's the benefit
it
of
just
that?
tells the IDE and the compiler that this function will return itself, the object itself. So you can chain methods using this.
Gotcha.
You can only do it with self, but static is late static binding. So depending on how things are extended, when you're extending when you're extending an object multiple levels, static will return not the parent, but wherever you're at that point.
Right.
Versus if you did self, it's going to be whatever. If C extends B extends A, self will always return C if that's what you instantiated, even if you're in B or A at that moment.
Class name on class,
or vice versa. I could have that backwards.
Literal on object. Previously, if you statically call class on a class, so user : class, it would return the object name. You can now use that with instantiated objects as well.
That's cool. Instead of having to get the class of it
the
first.
place where this is going to be useful is previously you had to use the get class method. This just cleans things up a little bit and helps with polymorphic switches and things like that.
You actually turned me onto that, Thomas. I just used that on a project at Get Class. Yeah.
Variable syntax tweaks.
Cool.
New and instance of can now be used with arbitrary expressions. This is just a way that things had to be encapsulated. So when you wanted to immediately call a method of a new object, you had to do it in a specific way. This just gives you some new tweaks to that functionality.
This is interesting.
Stringable
Stringable
this
interface?
is big boy.
Okay. Explain.
This is an automatic interface assigned to any object that implements the toString method. Is stringable will now be a valid way of seeing if something knows how to return a string. This is another one of those things where you can have classes that get 10 levels deep or whatever into new objects and new objects and new objects, and then you don't know if it's going to be stringable, so you can just do a check. You can check where the closest stringable object to where you are is. You'll see this probably a lot in APIs that do serialization of objects. And it's just a helper for more framework developers. But it does get us...
Because technically you could have done method exist __ to string.
And you can use magic methods too. You can use all sorts of stuff. But this is just another nice tool in the toolbox. Traits can now define abstract private methods. Another tool in the toolbox. Doesn't really mean anything to the average PHP developer, but yeah, you can have abstract privates.
I got a ticket for that once.
Throw can be used as an expression. I don't use... My programming style is not exception based. My programming style is if-then based. There are some programming styles that use exceptions as their basic checks for if. This is
I see where it's helpful for the ternary.
right. So you can now throw exceptions in more places. But I won't use this. This is just a very particular coding style.
I bet you end up using it. I would use this.
He won't use it if he doesn't throw many exceptions, where I use exceptions all the time.
And my style is instead of checking for exceptions, check for value states.
Yeah, I'm very much of the mindset that a method should return a very specific type. It should return a valid either object or a valid value, not, hey, it's going to return an object or null, or an object or false.
In that way, this ties back into how PHP is becoming a more strict language. Optional trailing comma in parameter lists. This one is going to make a ton of code not backwards compatible, and it's not going to be a problem for me because I love this. I'll be using it everywhere, and I don't care.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, I think John had the best argument for this. That when you if you were to add to the bottom of an array, now you can just copy and paste from the line above, and you don't have to add a comma, add a line,
absolutely
add your value. Yeah,
it also makes your PRs cleaner because now you're adding a single line versus adding
a line,
a comma and another line. Yeah,
right.
It's stupid, but it is something, especially once you start.
It's not proper English. Let's just put that out there. But okay, we're okay with it.
We're not writing English anyway.
Catching exceptions without storing it in a variable. Right now, when we throw an exception, we have to catch it in a variable.
That's nice.
Now you no longer have to. You can just catch the exception and say there was an exception. Added support for mixed type. The mixed type is equivalent to array, bool, callable, int, float, null, object resource, or string.
So basically anything.
Because
okay,
supporting for a mixed type means that the just-in-time compiler, which is also part of PHP 8, can actually properly cache the definition of the function instead of having to redefine the function every execution. So the way the just-in-time compiler works is if it's a strictly typed piece of code, it dedicates it to a longer term cache than if it's a loosely typed piece of code. In order to be properly cached, it has to be, or in order to be long-term cached, it has to be strictly typed and defined. So you have to say everything has an expected input value and an output value. And you have to adhere to those rules in your code or else you throw a fatal exception. So if you're taking an existing project and you want to bring it up to date, instead of going line by line and defining this is an int, this is a string, this is I don't know, I don't remember, you start with mixed on all your values and move from there. Mixed is not going to be as performant for just-in-time, but it will be better than nothing. And it will allow you to maintain strict typing on all of your application files. So no, you're wrong.
Freaking Thomas came prepared.
It's like, you give me a week off, I'll read everything.
So this is another big one, right?
Yes, and we're not going to get too far into it. It's actually 4 different RFCs. We've talked about why in the past, but it will allow framework developers to build attribute-based functionality into their framework support. No one has done it yet. I believe some people are already proposing where they want it, but it's just right now, it's just a functionality that hasn't been implemented by the end community.
I think this is gonna be big in frameworks.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Constructor Property for Promotion. It's just a new shorthand syntax for constructors. It means that when your constructor defines a variable, it gets automatically included as this variable in strictly typed classes. Huh. So in your constructor, nice. Normally I would have to pass in user ID and page, and then I'd have to say this user ID equals user ID, this page equals page. Now I don't have to do that.
That'll be very nice. Although it's more magic but most of my constructors are that way anyway, so it will be a nice
it adheres to what many other programming languages, I believe Java does, which is that passing it into the constructor means you want it. You want it to be available. So match expression. This is a short switch statement. That's really all there is to it. It doesn't support breaks. It just returns the first matching value. That's why it's called match.
So this is kind of not a replacement, but kind of the same functionality as a case, but a little better. Yeah, I did see I think you can even do. This example doesn't show it, but I thought I read you even do multiple matches on one line. So like on this one, it could be 0,1 for foo, and you can actually remove bar. And then if I match one now, let me actually try that. I'm gonna try this whole interface now, see if it works. Let me see if that works. If I run that, it should return foo now. And it did. Yeah. So you can actually add multiple matches on one line. So all I did is I did zero. It was 0 foo, 1 bar, 2 baz. And I just did 0,1 to foo, and it matched. So it's pretty nifty. So yeah, and that's meant to address that fall through that we talked about in case statements, where you say, "Oh, I want 0 to match," but then actually, I guess that's not the same as a fall through.
No, it's not. Yeah. It's you don't have to have those breaks.
Yeah.
Where if you accidentally forgot a break, you
fell through.
You kept running code, whether you wanted to or not. But this is also supposed to be much shorter. Where with switch statements,
for sure.
Yeah, with switch statements, it's you have big blocks of code in there if you want.
I like this. I like this site, man. This is fun to play with these things.
The thing about match, which whether or not you use it, if you use Laravel, you're screwed.
How's this? Oh, because
Laravel has a match class, and match is a new reserved keyword. If you are using match in your class names, it will stop working.
It's fine. We come out with weekly releases. We'll update that.
Yeah. Null safe operator. This is currently highly debated in the internals group. But it is accepted currently in its current state for 8. And it simply allows you to chain objects without worrying about getting a null value. A reference on null value.
This is one of the ones I was confused on. If there is a null value, does it null out that whole, like in this scenario, all of country returns null because ISO code is null. Right?
Yeah. So,
get address is null. Get address doesn't return anything.
Yeah, get address would be null too. Yeah.
So previously that would have been
so error. Previously when you called country, it would say trying to call property of non-object.
Trying to call you were trying to call country on a null object.
Now you can do this. I hate it. It's like bringing the @ symbol back to PHP.
Yeah, it kind of suppresses the error, right?
It does and it doesn't, because without that you would have to say address equals user get address. If address is not null, then country equals address country. If country is not null, then do the get ISO.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So yeah, there is a legitimate use case for it where it would return null.
Right. Instead of checking each piece of the chain.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Instead of checking each piece of the chain, you're just checking it at the end.
That's tough.
So if I go in here and I say return test and run that, will it return test?
Shouldn't. It should be null.
I don't know.
The whole point is if you would have gotten error calling method country on null or whatever that is, you now just get a null back because you told PHP, I know this might be null. I'm okay with that. Yeah. Just give me null if this isn't.
And I can definitely see use cases for this in data stores, but I will be reading further into the intricacies of this for next week.
I mean, actually, that's a perfect example, like a get address. If your address is broken up by street, city, state, you can say, okay, give me an address if all these fields are populated. If they're not, then return null.
It feels like adding a code smell.
Well, when you start doing this chaining is where it's beneficial. Again, do you really want to check every step of the way to make sure you're getting back data? Do you go from one line to 3 or 4 if statements as you're checking to make sure that you're getting back objects?
Well, no, but wouldn't a double question mark also do the same thing?
No, because you are getting I think it's a fatal exception when you try calling a method on a null.
Nope.
Because it's not an object.
Double question mark does the same thing.
I think you're full of baloney.
Double question mark null returns null.
Right.
But it doesn't throw an exception on country or ISO code, even though it's right there.
So you removed all the question marks, is what you're saying?
Yeah. So, it's a code smell. Moving on. We're at the last one.
That's the big one.
This is the interesting one. This is the fascinating one. And it doesn't currently execute on the site. Uh-oh.
You're right. What the hell?
Named arguments.
Yeah, it's broken on the site.
So it is broken on the site. Not sure why. Oh well, I don't care. It allows you to set your arguments in any order as long as you name them matching. Oh, I know why it doesn't. Because there's no num. There's no num anymore.
I was saying,
backwards compatibility fail.
Finish explaining what it is, Thomas.
You can name arguments in any order as long as the name colon the value in your definition matches the definition of the method. So,
right.
I gotta find out what the.
I still see it in there.
Really?
Start index.
PHP 8?
It's no longer number,
Well,
it is now count. That was changed this week. So a whole new way for backwards compatibility to fail, renaming values.
And Thomas is right. No?
I don't see that on php.net.
My array fill did
doesn't
not.
return anything.
He's not returning it. Yeah,
but it works.
So yeah, he's
so
right.
the value, the second argument for array fill was changed from num to count this week, causing a backwards compatibility failure. That's going to be a problem.
Need a tweet to Marcel to let him know to update his website here.
But this is indicative of a much bigger problem, because if there's someone out there who's using named arguments for everything, and
you can't be using it unless you're on PHP 8. If you're using it on PHP 8,
he's saying you go to PHP 9.
No.
And
I'm saying
it's a future fail if you start using named arguments now in PHP 8. In the future, they change count back to num.
Right. So now something that wasn't backwards breaking,
that's very
something
valid.
that wasn't
That's
backwards
very
breaking
valid,
is now backwards breaking, as was just shown in this example. The second argument was renamed, and you would never know that until it threw an exception that named argument didn't exist. And Laravel is not written for named arguments. It doesn't have to be.
You want to make sure you have tests. You got tests, you don't have to worry about it.
Well, you're going to have to test every method now as a named argument.
Yeah, that's valid. I mean,
or just don't use named arguments. You're good.
It's a future issue. Yeah, that's very valid, John. I was very excited about that until you freaking said that, you bastard.
Well, I didn't say it. Thomas said it. I just clarified what he said.
I don't think Thomas knew
I knew
what
exactly what I was saying. This broke
both freaking
between Laravel 8.11 and 8.12 or whatever we're on. Backwards compatibility broke.
It didn't break. It didn't.
It throws an exception,
right? Because it's 8. 8's not.
Wait,
is not
right? But this
yet.
is a new thing you have to look out for. This previously would not have thrown an error, and now it does.
Right. That's the point. It's not breaking now. It's a possible future break, like John said.
Yes, that's what I'm.
Is this array fill a Laravel thing?
Yes, this is
PHP?
No.
Array
PHP has an array.
This is a standard 8.
Right.
Okay, so this must have changed with the latest release of 8 then.
That's what I'm confused about, because it's not in the documentation on PHP for array fill.
You're looking at 8.
I'm just looking at PHP documentation.
Yeah, see, if you look at it, that's just up to PHP 7. You've got to look at the documentation for PHP 8.
I see. Okay, well.
So they must have. They must have changed it in the standard.
Right. So that was my argument.
Right.
It's not a backwards.
This isn't a Laravel issue.
No, it's not. Definitely not.
It will lead to a new type of backwards breaking compatibility.
Exactly. Yes. You and John had the point of, if, for example, it is changed in the future and you have used name arguments, you're screwed now. So why would you use name arguments?
It does. Well, you can put things in the order that makes sense to you. And
but it's a risk.
But also if instead of just having numbers like 0, 100, 50, where you don't know what they are, by putting named arguments in there, it kind of does that for you. But if you use an IDE like PHP Storm, you can have that already anyway, and you're good to go.
And you don't inherit the risk.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a huge problem for me, man. You guys just ruined what I thought was going to be the coolest feature of PHP 8, and now I'm never going to use it.
100% never going to use it now, because it means things will break arbitrarily because people aren't paying attention.
Or think, I called this, a group guide. It should be group guides.
Right.
And,
right.
It's just something simple like that.
I'm still confused on the null safe operator.
Okay, so I will add that to my research.
We've moved on, John.
Research list.
God damn it.
I think the fact that you're confused is the reason it's currently under a lot of argument in the internals.
If John's confused, there are issues amongst.
Thomas blew my mind with you can just use the null coalescing already. You don't need the null safe. And it's cleaner. You don't have those weird question marks in the middle of your syntax.
Which are backwards compatible breaking as well.
You look at that doesn't even look like good code. But I don't know. I felt that same way with the annotation, and it's starting to grow on me.
Let me research further into it, and we'll get into it next week, because I can't believe that. But we're at like an hour and 20.
No, we took
we're not
20
at
minutes
yet.
Yeah, we took 20 minutes just to get the damn show going. But this was a good deep dive into PHP 8.
Thank you,
Thomas. God,
I did my research.
Damn.
And you skipped over one that you said you were going to go back to. Weak maps.
That's going to be next week. Weak maps is its own entire beast. Weak maps and attributes are the big changes. And I can roughly say that weak maps are a new method of garbage collection, so that pointers to invalid objects now get garbage collected immediately, versus getting garbage collected when the next sweep comes through and checks for unused variables. It's gonna be a big deal in long-running processes and node-style WebSockets stuff, because it does garbage collection cleanup completely different than the rest of PHP, and I don't understand it yet. I just sort of get the gist of the purpose of it, but we'll get into it when I've read more next week.
All right, sounds good. Eric and I, I'm going to move us on. We've talked a lot about PHP, so we should stop. Eric and I, a couple weeks ago, we recorded the PHP podcast, and in there we were reminded about the open sourcing mental illness survey, which is currently open, and they, highly recommend everyone to go take the survey, and especially this year, trying to get as much data as possible will be beneficial, especially in seeing how people are reacting to current stressors in their lives.
I can't think of any stressors.
That's my assumption.
What's the URL there?
What stress?
osmihelp.org. OSMI help.org/research.
Alrighty.
So, and it will be in the lame show notes, as I've been told, as I interpreted John's complaint.
It wasn't my complaint. Listeners' complaints. I love the fact that you put the links in there. Thank you, Eric, for all your hard work.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it.
Did we talk about Faker?
That it was going away and Laravel picked it up? I don't think we did,
so
actually.
Not Laravel, but Taylor, whatever his name is. Yes, Taylor Otwell picked it up personally. In Packagist, it's still marked as abandoned, and it does not have a recommended replacement. But because the namespace on it is just /faker, you can go to github.com/fakerphp/faker, and that is the new, officially supported by Taylor version of Faker.
Do you want to give a little backstory, because we kind of broke that one?
I don't know if I have any backstory on that. I know that the guy just considered it done.
Yeah, so the maintainer of Faker decided he was done supporting Faker. If you're in the Laravel world, you use Faker pretty heavily. So
I use it outside of Laravel all the time.
We don't care. There's no outside of Laravel, John. You'll learn to embrace the Laravel way here soon. Don't worry about it. But you use Faker a lot, and the maintainer just basically said, listen, I don't know if he decided that he didn't want to do any more work on it. He didn't have time. I don't know the whole backstory, but he announced that he was stepping away from maintaining Faker, and
168 open pull requests. Holy cow!
Popped in there and said he would take. I just assumed Taylor would put it under Laravel, but
interestingly enough, not only did he not put it under Laravel, he ported it directly over, maintaining the current versions as well. So all you have to do is change the endpoint in your Composer JSON and update, and that's it. You don't have to do anything else in your code. Faker will still resolve correctly. and be up to the latest version, according to Taylor.
Oh.
So he kept the same namespace too.
The namespace was already just /faker.
Oh,
So
okay.
there was nothing to rebrand.
So, all right, since we're talking about Taylor, I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but I got to give the guy credit where credit's deserved. I've had this on my Trello board for a while and haven't talked about it. So he's taking over Faker. He's going to continue to maintain Faker, whether it's him or Laravel is another thing. But he also recently partnered up with another person, Otto, OTTO, and Otto. You think that's Otto? Okay. And offered financial support for the continuation of creating a PHP package for Debian. So the person who was doing it, mentioned that it was challenging, and him and Otto offered financial support to allow for the continuation of creating Debian packages for PHP 8. So that was very cool, I thought. I assume they followed through on it. I just saw the string where it's all in GitHub. They kind of communicated to each other saying, hey, how much do you need? And they both agreed to do a 50-50 split on it. So it was cool. PHP making PHP better. I like it.
That's community. I missed it, though. Did you try to say his name? Yes.
Otto? Is that not right? Oh. John clarified it for me. I think I said, I don't know what I said.
No, his last
name.
I
said it wrong. Oh, no, I didn't even attempt that. Do you know what it is? I can go to Google Translate as well, you bastard.
Kekalainen?
Not even close, man. Let me listen to it here. Kekalainen. Yeah, you were very close. Kekalainen. Finish. Do you know who that is?
I do not actually.
Otto Kekalainen. Let me see. He's got to be somebody. He's got to be somebody in the
I think he's in the
world.
Debian world.
Let's check it out.
He's a CEO at Seravo.
He's also the author of MariaDB.org. Author at MariaDB.org. Where's he the CEO at?
Seravo.
Mm-hmm.
And I hadn't read it. They did all this in the GitHub issues. So if you read it, it's just adorable.
Because I don't think they knew each other. I think they just both offered to help in the issue.
They said $3,000 for doing it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
premium hosting and upkeep for WordPress is what Seravo offers.
Interesting. So cool people doing cool things.
Yeah.
I like it. Gotta like it.
And
okay, are we done torturing people? No, we're not done torturing.
One last
people.
thing.
We're done.
Because we've brought it up so many times, California's contractor code. Last year, you guys were greatly, or was it 2 years ago? You guys were greatly.
This year. It was this year. January, we had to convert all of our contractors to employees, which wasn't a huge deal for us. I mean, it definitely cost us money. It cut into our profits, but it was actually a conversation John and I had for years.
They passed the year. Son of a.
Here's the issue: is that this law was put in place in order to provide workers' rights for at-will workers using apps to do stuff like Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, things like that. And as of Tuesday, since Proposition 22 passed, now the only companies that are not held liable under that law are Uber, DoorDash, Lyft, and other app-based companies.
Right. So we are
was
still.
it was meant to target them. We were caught up in that, and now they are not targeted by it.
Now, my understanding of it, and I haven't read the details. I didn't realize we were going to dive into this, but there are some stipulations to it. Like they have to offer a minimum pay. They have to offer. There were a couple things that I'm like, how are they going to do that? They can't even do that.
I did not see that anywhere in the research I did around it.
Yeah, I heard it on NPR this morning, so I have not seen it. But there were supposed to be some stipulations to it.
There are 3 stipulations. 1, the worker is free from the hiring company's control and direction in the performance of work. 2, the worker is doing...
Well, that's part of being a contractor.
The worker is doing work that is outside the company's usual course of business. And 3, the worker is engaged in an established trade, occupation, or business of the same nature as the work performed. That was Act B5. That was the original act that was passed and defined.
Well, those are the requirements.
That defined a contractor, and that's the one that screwed you guys over. The new proposition defines app-based drivers as workers who provide delivery services on an on-demand basis through a business's online-enabled application or platform, or use a personal vehicle to provide prearranged transportation services for compensation via a business's online-enabled application or platform.
Be a little bit more specific, why don't
So it specifically excludes DoorDash, Lyft, Uber, and they are no longer contract workers under Assembly Bill 5, which was the one you guys had to fall under.
But they do have to make a net earning of 120% of minimum wage for their engaged time and 30 cents for mileage. They're not allowed to work more than 12 hours in any 24-hour period.
Yeah, and to John's point, I mean, the law was created to specifically target these companies, and other companies like ours got caught up into having to adhere to the law. It costs us money. It continues to cost us money. It will always cost us money, which is fine. Our employees didn't particularly want to become employees because they really liked being contractors, but they didn't have an option either. It is what it is, but it's funny to me that the law that now we have to adhere to that was meant for these guys don't have to adhere to it. There's a whole different implementation for them.
Well, but now that I read this more, this is what I wanted, was worrying about their pay, worrying about healthcare. So if they're working at least 24 hours per week during any calendar quarter, they're required to provide healthcare subsidies equal to 82% of the average premium each month. And if you're working 15 to 20 hours, they have to...
I think they even get leave now, right? I think they get like sick leave or I don't know if they get vacation, but I think they get like some personal leave.
Yeah,
now
some insurance.
The issue there is that setting requirements like this just means that Uber has to implement slightly different rules to make sure that they circumvent all of the law that they defined.
You can only work 23 hours a week, not 24.
Right. That's exactly what they're going to do.
Things like that.
So it'll actually end up with more Uber drivers because they're just not going to allow you to work 24 hours in a week. And can you guess how much money was raised by Lyft, Uber, and DoorDash to advertise this in California?
I would say $7.8 million.
I would say higher.
Would you say astronomically higher?
I don't know if I'd say astronomically, but I'm going to assume the correct answer is yes.
$202 million were spent on...
They could have paid all their Uber
That's
drivers.
correct.
Holy crap.
That's the annoying part.
The yes side raised $187.5 million. The no side raised $15 million.
That's a hard part. I don't know that people research the propositions enough.
Well, that's what ads are for. They do the research for you. It's heartbreaking that joke actually lands.
Because if you listen to somebody claiming to be a driver saying that I want to be able to set my own hours,
guess what?
Yes, it sounds very legitimate.
Guess what? This is even better. Spotify knows how old you are and is essentially the only place that younger voters hear or see advertisements. So when they spent that $187.5 million, it was targeted advertisements on Facebook, Spotify, and YouTube to people who they knew wouldn't do the research, but were likely voters in California, and would empathize with poor little Uber getting squashed by big government.
My goodness.
I don't know what it was like for you in Colorado there, Thomas. But
I have my gun.
I don't know. It's hard for me. That's not good. Let's not worry about that. But I don't have cable television anymore, so I do everything through streaming services, and I still get some commercials, but not many. But I didn't see a lot of ads, like a lot of campaign ads and stuff. Even driving around the streets, you'll see people have signs in the streets. You have the psycho Trump people on corners, but that's been going on for 4 years. Like these.
I know.
Don't get me started on these.
I've seen
idiots. But I went to Arizona a couple times before the election, and of course last week. And when I got there last week, it was like the entire road leading up to my mom's house was campaign sign.
Battleground state.
I'm like, oh my God. And the television was just commercial after commercial, campaign ad. I'm like, my God. Oh, I hate it.
Yeah, over the last week before the election, I was getting, I would say, 7 text messages a day asking if I had voted and who I voted for.
Oh, it would ask you who you voted for?
We're a very capitalist society. I was going to say divided, but capitalism encompasses the whole picture.
No, we're definitely divided. I mean, Trump is very clear. We're divided. It's him and them. The Republican Party doesn't even try to hide.
I don't think we're as divided as they want us to think.
Oh my God! All right, we're not going to go down here. There was a I don't want to say a prominent, but there was a very respected person in the Laravel community that made his vote known and disappointed a lot of people, including myself. Why he chose to go the way he did, and we don't need to, I guess, get into it here on the show. But needless to say, I looked at his Twitter timeline. I'm like, he doesn't say anything of value to me. I'm gonna unfollow him. But I mean, the guy has like 10,000 followers. I don't think, and he didn't follow me back either. So it's not like he noticed, But it was just one of those things where it's why I stopped doing Facebook. I just can't handle this way people think.
Would you like some good politics news to close us out?
I think that would be very, very well placed. Let's do it. Give me something good.
Is there such a thing?
We have our 4th astronaut public representative. Democrat Mark Kelly is taking the Arizona Senate position.
Oh, that was one of the ones I saw commercial for after commercial for.
So, yay science. Right.
That's interesting because we needed, we talk about the presidency a lot, but we also needed the Senate, and we didn't get. I mean, when I say we, the Democrats needed the Senate, and they didn't even get close.
It's still up in the air. And remember that the Senate, in a split decision, is decided by the vice president.
Your point being,
It's
oh, you're assuming if
the Democrats take the White
Democrats-
House, then that's a count for the Senate seat in a split decision.
Gotcha.
So it's worth noting because right now the Senate is still tied at 47-47.
And the Democrats almost lost the House. I mean, that's still going on. That's a very real possibility.
Yes, 35 incumbents up for election on the Republican side, and every single one of them won their House seat.
Yep, and no, two lost their seats, and then 7 Democrats.
Maybe I'm
lost their
thinking of the
seats.
Senate side then.
You might have been thinking
There's,
of the
I mean,
Senate,
it's just that's the thing about what's been going on is there's so much numbers and predictions and algorithms flying around, keeping this stuff straight, and like why each. I have such incredible respect for the news anchors that have been covering this because the volume of information that they have mental access to.
But they live for this.
Yeah, it's.
They live. This is
They're
launch
getting
day for them,
overtime
man.
for sure.
This is go live. Yeah, they love this stuff.
So,
all right, I think that's it. I'm not sure how that was ending on a positive note.
Astronaut.
But, we'll be back. We'll be astronaut science.
I forgot to
Yay.
switch the OBS scene. I got so excited.
We'll be back next week.
Let's throw it to Patreon first.
Complaining. Thank you. Am I supposed to say thank you all the time? Can you guys say thank you?
Huge thank you to our Patreons.
We do appreciate huge thank you. I think we need PHP ugly elephants. I think that's what we need.
If you want to be removed from our Patreon thank you page, that is only $10.
We should make that a reward level.
Unlisted.
Off the page. That would be awesome. I love it.
We can have multiple $1 reward levels, one where you get acknowledged and one where you don't.
No, I like your idea. Make
it higher price.
Take you off more expensive. Absolutely. Yeah. Don't mention me. Keep me private. All right. I think that's it. Are we good, John? You have anything else you want to contribute?
I'm in the middle of possibly buying something.
Of course.
Wait a minute. What did we talk about that you're buying? Is it geeky?
What do you mean? Why do we have to buy? Why do we have to talk about it for me to buy it?
Is it geeky?
Bring it off air. After the sign off. Close it off. Eric, say goodbye.
There's no off air. Okay.
Raspberry Pi.
You getting the keyboard? Did you find something with the keyboard?
This one Thomas pointed out.
Oh my god. All right, fine. Okay, that's it. Episode 212 is in the can. I'm Eric.
I'm John.
I'm Tom. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
I jumped the gun, but I needed to. You guys are too
Check
slow.
this thing out, Eric.
What do you got?
It's in the chat. One sec.
Oh. John just had me buy a Xbox controller.
Which one is it? Oh, that looks like a 360 controller.
Is that not the one we're supposed to get?
Oh, it works. It's 2 generations old now.
That's the one you said on last time we talked.
$25. All right, yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
The Xbox Ones are $50 usually, and then the Xbox Series X's are going to be like $70.
Applications, it mix of program buttons and D-pad knobs. Dude, I don't need to use more controls. I need my keyboard.
You don't run OBS anymore. I want
I
this.
know.
Oh,
this thing is sweet looking.
Are you on
killing my recording?
Are you on Windows? You're on Windows?
Yeah, this side is all Windows. My setup is 3 screens. This is OBS and all of the stuff we're doing right now. And then screen middle is Linux and Linux.
Mm. You know, they have the thing I was using. What was the thing I was
Stream
using?
Deck.
Stream Deck, yeah.
I like dials, man. Dials are so cool.
Stream Deck plugged directly into OBS.
Well, this is supposed to too. And it's like a third of the cost.
It's such a pain in the ass to get Stream Deck working on Linux. You basically have to map everything. There's no like nice.
So this thing is like a 30-button keyboard, or a 30-button mouse. So you don't have to do anything to get it working.
But does it work on Linux though?
Yeah.
Problem. Yeah, what? It doesn't. It says Mac and Windows.
It's just a mouse.
Do you have a multi-button mouse on your Linux machine?
Yeah, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
How do you map all that? What do you use to map this? Because mine doesn't work. I have the Logitech.
I have this.
I can't. That's what I have. How do you map your buttons?
Back and forward, just. Oh well, okay. There's GNOME GNOME config.
Oh shit! You know what I forgot to mention on the show? If you're still watching, guys, who's looks like betrayed kid? Why do I look like a betrayed kid? What's up with that? If you guys are still watching, spoiler alert, check out PHP Architects magazine that gets released. If you're not a subscriber, I have it on good authority. There's a possibility my community corner might be the free. Thank you. Might be the free article. So every month, PHP Architects, one of the articles they release free, and it was between mine and a couple of other articles that might be the free article this month, and it's on podcast. So PHP Ugly is in there.
You know, I don't know if mine works just because of barrier, because my mouse is not hooked up to my Linux machine natively. No, but it's always worked. It's always worked very well. At the back and forward have always worked very well.
See, my back and forward don't work. None of my buttons work except for the normal mouse buttons. I mean, the scroll. I think the scroll works. The scroll on the mouse works, but the scroll on the thumb doesn't do anything.
I gotta find my MX mouse. I don't know where that's at.
What do you use it now?
Just some super cheap mouse that I had because I couldn't get my Apple one to work.
All right, there's a program called Piper, Piper.
Piper. This isn't what you call it, right?
Apt install Piper.
What was the HBO thing?
Piper.
Piper. All right, what's Piper?
It allows you to map all the different buttons.
Eric, did you install Rocket League yet?
Negative.
Oh, libratbag is the core. Oh yeah, and they have all the different mice.
All right, I'm gonna try this right now. I'll do it live. Rocket League is free now on Steam.
No, on Epic. It's not on Steam.
Oh, I can go. Does Epic run on Linux? Wait, I thought how are you running it on Linux?
It on the Switch.
No, I'm running it on Linux.
Oh, are you running it through Steam's
ProntoDB? Yeah.
What's it called?
Steam. ProntoDB.
Oh no, I'm thinking of something else. I'm thinking of their system for emulating Windows.
I'm just totally
ProntoDB. That's what it is.
Proton. That's what it's called.
Taking your word for this. Proton.
What did I say? Pronto?
Yes.
Yeah, Proton DB.
Pronto. I just installed it. Let's see if this blows everything up for me. Oh, it does have a GUI. Oh, look at this. Buttons. Thomas, you're a lifesaver. You're an absolute lifesaver.
I just know how to Google.
You're a legend. You're a freaking legend. I tell you, I did this. I Googled
That's why you
this
asked
stuff.
me to do it for you. I'm
could
a
not
Googler.
find it. What's a ratchet? Unknown. So this guy, I actually would love for that to be... all right, I'm going to have to play with this then. Actually, can I do this?
There's been no new updates. I'm frustrated.
To what?
Election results.
No, Georgia's
that
closed.
work?
They're not counting again until tomorrow, and Pennsylvania is still working, but they're doing batches, and they're not going to release any batches. Oh no, they just released a batch.
I don't know. It's not changing anything for me.
Nevada's
Thomas.
not counting. Arizona. Mouse stuff is a pain in the ass, and it's supposed to work right out of the box, but I'm not sure why it isn't for you. I mean, I've got like my left and right scroll work, my back and forward work, my gesture doesn't work. Oh, but my gesture button pulls up Task Manager.
I wonder if there's something I need to do to... Yeah, I don't know. It's not working for me at all. Interesting.
Eric, do you want this saved as MP3 or something else?
It doesn't matter. I haven't needed it. Just save it. You don't even have to put it in Dropbox. Just hold on to it for now. I mean, you're more than welcome to put it in Dropbox. I'm just saying, I haven't even looked in Dropbox in months.
I haven't been putting it over there anyway, so.
Thomas, this looks so like exactly what I need, and it doesn't seem to be making any changes. What do we got going on here? It was a beautiful show and a new experience for me. Just to listen to podcasts.
Well, I mean, this was a very different show for us. I broke down everything in PHP 8 step by step.
That was good, man.
And HTTP3.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah. Hey, dude, welcome. Honorable, what is that, Newt?
Honorable Newt.
I got started.
He's been in the Discord before.
I got Dude, our Discord is fucking dynamite. Hey, if you guys are watching the live stream, you're not in a Discord, you guys should join that. We've got some awesome people.
It does. It moves and shakes. I think we need to trim down our channels,
I gotta remember to install that.
That's the thing. Yeah, nobody uses anything but coding.
Doom and gloom.
I don't know. See, the Patreon's channel, Patreons should be getting added to automatically.
Yeah, and that's never worked correctly.
I need to figure out why. So I need to get that set up. But the thing I really like about the Discord is that there's like not this idle chit chat of people just wanting to talk. It's like there's like real conversations, then it just goes quiet for the rest of the day. I like it. And discord.phpugly.com will take you to our Discord.
Oh, that works?
Now. It should work. Let me double check now that I said it. Discord, phpugly.com. Works like a charm, baby. Discord.phpugly.com. Oh, yeah. Put that in OBS now. Look at you. Already doing it. There it is.
What is it called?
It can be HTTPS. Discord.phpugly.com. So that now works. So I tried playing Batman again with my Xbox controller because I told you my Steam controller, the game would freeze and lock up my machine, and it did it with the Xbox controller too. So now I'm worried it's Steam. Maybe I'll install Rocket League and try to play it and see if it's the Batman game or if it's
Batman's pretty intense for Have you checked Proton?
Dude,
Is it
graphics are so beautiful. Yeah, that's the only reason I can run it. It's because it's one of those Proton ones.
Arkham Knight, Arkham City?
I got them all. I don't know which one I'm playing. I think I'm playing the latest.
That would help.
And it's gorgeous. I mean, like while I'm playing it, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's flawless. Like it plays better than I've ever played it on any other desktop. Although I haven't had a PC in a while, so can't really talk.
Go to protondb.com and look up the game, and they'll have fixes for you if you're having issues. And they'll also tell you how well supported the game is.
Okay, I'll check that out. See, I need to come to, we need a Linux Ugly now.
Well, we burnt our PHP content for the next, 6 months. Although, no, I do have...
We stored some up for next week.
I have Null Safe, I have Match, and I have...
Weak Map.
Weak Map. That's the other one. Weak Map. Okay, so I've got those RFCs. I'll be researching those this week.
Oh, this is a good resource here, Thomas.
Yeah.
I don't play enough games, so I didn't really care that much about it, but I will continue to tinker with that. That is the thing I miss about Linux is the tinkering, which I'm terrible at. I shouldn't do it. I'm already fucking around thinking about putting another distro on here, and I'm not going to. But Manjaro is the one I want. It's the so Manjaro is, if you're familiar with Arch Linux,
ancient.
Manjaro is maybe, but it was very difficult to install Arch. Like there was a bunch of customizations and stuff, and Manjaro is just a distribution built on Arch. So Arch is I don't know if it's actually considered a rolling distro where it gets all the newest, latest, greatest stuff. And so Manjaro is a pretty interface to that, and I can't. And oh my god! So I downloaded it and installed it as a VirtualBox, but I did the KDE. What's KDE? What's the KDE version called?
OpenBox.
No. KDE. OpenBox is another desktop. The new KDE. Oh, so dynamite! And I've long said that I would never go back to KDE, but man, it looks nice.
Oh,
yes.
You also
Pragmatic Lou, both John and I are on Pop! OS currently. That's what we're both running. You're seeing us on Pop! OS. I've been running it for about it's been about a month, 2 months now.
I was gonna say longer.
Well, to be clear, what they're seeing is not great because you're using the web version of Skype.
Yeah, that's because the client on Linux sucks. Anyway, Arch is also the distro that you can run macOS on the best.
Really?
That video you sent me, I believe that's what he said in there was it runs best on Arch.
No, Pop! OS is the best supported for Steam.
I was tempted to. That makes sense. Yeah. And quite honestly, the people at we both bought System 76 machines, and I've just been peppering their support at all, but they've been pretty responsive to me, and I've got to say I appreciate that, and that's one of the reasons why I want to stick with Pop! OS. I'm like, okay, I bought a System 76 machine to have a supported stack of open source hardware, open source software from a company that's willing to support it, and I'm going to stick to that. But if I get my hands on another laptop that's not a Mac, I think I want to go ahead and fuck with it.
I just realized that my Patreon stuff on the scroller is out of date.
What do you mean?
Well, okay, I'm just gonna have you send me the newest Patreon list this week. I'll fix the whole thing.
Yeah, they only update like once a month maybe, and that's if anybody drops or adds. But yeah, I'll grab you another one. All right, you guys gonna go play Rocket League? I'll drop off. But I will. John, I might bug you with getting that set up this week or next week or something, because I would like to do something non-coding related.
So I don't forget this time. Let's all say goodbye to our listeners. I'm gonna kill the stream.
Thanks for hanging out with us,
everyone.
guys. We appreciate it, guys.